Hey, this is Sean Dries from Silver King Capital. If you want to learn how to use your small axe to build an empire, you should be listening to the Small Axe podcast with my good friend Nico.
Hey guys, it's your boy Nico here from the Small Axe Podcast. I want to show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. You see, not everybody begins their investing career with millions of dollars, a huge network of investors, or the knowledge necessary to become successful in this space, and that's okay. What I focus on here on this podcast is helping you hone your skills, sharpen your tools to become the best investor that you can be. Now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or the guest, feel free to do so. Love you guys. Okay, Small Axe community, it is me, Nico, and I'm back. And today I'm with my buddy, Sean Dries. Now, you may not have heard about him, but he is a killer down in Florida. And as a matter of fact, I've got my only 2 deals through Sean. So that's why I'm super excited to get him on the show today and kind of hear about his story, his journey, and give you guys some of the blueprint of how you can get to where he is today. But Sean, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. This is actually my first ever podcast. So thank you for that.
I can't believe it, man. You have done so much of what I want to do that you should have been on a million podcasts, but you're probably head in the books, working, getting on site, doing deals instead of doing podcasts. So I hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's always a little bit of the imposter syndrome, right? You listen to podcasts and you see other people doing stuff and you're like, when I get to that level, but it's always I think one thing to realize lately is there's other people that you can help even get to where you are, even if you're not where you want to get to. So hopefully this inspires some people, and that's what we can hope for.
Oh, I love it, man. Thanks, Sean. But before we get fully into this, let's take a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind, to kind of give the listeners some of your story and your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so real estate was kind of something I stumbled into, to be honest with you. I was a registered nurse, and I had this whole career path of I wanted to go back to school for anesthesia. And in that path, I was a nurse. I was making money for the first time in my life, and it was very comfortable. And going back to school, you really can't work. So there was this fear of going from eating steak to eating ramen noodles again that I was not looking forward to. So in that process, I was like, maybe I, flip a house or something, or I get a rental or two. Very basic, thoughts on real estate. And I ended up buying my first house in Tampa in 2014, after a struggle buying a house. I was a different time in the market and different struggles. So that's an interesting part too. But ultimately, I house hacked a house was my first deal. I had a bunch of roommates. Mortgage was paid by rent, and and then I met a girl, now my wife, and she was moving to New York, and I realized that you can sell your house after living in it for 2 years for no no capital gains on it. So I followed her to New York, sold my house, and about a week later, I saw basically a repeatable process with the house right down the street. So I bought that house, and then this time I kept it as a rental. So I kind of did the burn method with that one. I did that a few more times, mostly during my time out of state in New York, investing in Tampa. And during that process, I really immersed myself in the educational aspect, networking aspect. And when we returned to Tampa in 2018, that's kind of when I took my investment more seriously. I basically sold my original portfolio. At that time, it was like 6 rentals. And I had this fork in the road moment. It was basically, this goal of anesthesia that I've been working towards, checking all the boxes in multiple ways to go towards it. And then I had this real estate starting to snowball a little bit, and I was like, I kind of want to go the real estate way. And so I kind of sat on applications for a while. Deadlines expired, and I, kind of picked real estate over that. And planned my exit from nursing. COVID expedited it a little bit and kind of gave me that nudge of like, just do it. So basically in 2020, I sold everything, quit my job, had money in the bank, but really no active income. And around that time, I met my now business partner. Kind of a similar story in ways. We basically, liquidated some stuff, came together, and started buying small deals in Central Florida, and went on a pretty good run buying deals the last couple of years. And now we're, a couple of years later, and that's kind of where we are now. We have door count. We sold some stuff to Nico last year, so I'm not sure what our exact door count is. Probably low hundreds, and that's mostly apartments, under 30 units. We have duplex up to biggest under one roof is a 12 or 10 unit. Everything else is kind of scattered site, a bunch of duplexes clumped together and stuff like that. We also have an RV park and a hotel. So that's kind of what we have at this point.
Oh my God, Sean, you got such a cool background. I didn't know you were in New York. What part of New York?
So my wife was actually in medical school. So she did her first 2 years in the island, and then their partnership was in mostly New York, all over New York. But her placement was at Kings County. So we lived in Crown Heights. So
Cool. So like 3 or 4 years, huh?
No, her program was 4 years in medical school. So like the last 2 years are in like first 2 years in the book, the last 2 years like in the hospital setting. So during that time, we lived in Brooklyn. I worked in Manhattan, and then as I did travel nursing at that time, and then I would bounce out to Long Island, out to Stony Brook to break it up every now and then, which you have to do with travel nursing. But yeah, we lived up in New York for a couple of years. It was a fun time, and randomly landed back in Tampa, which was home for both of us. So kind of it was stars aligned there. So
Cool, man. Where are you now in Tampa, or are you not in Tampa?
no, I'm in Tampa. We moved back in 2018, back to Seminole Heights, where I can walk to that first house that I house hacked. Every primary residence I've had is within like a 5-minute walk of each other in Tampa. And we are working on a new one right now. So again, all in the same little pocket of Seminole Heights. So
Cool. And in the beginning, where you said you were basically using your own cash, and then when did you start like syndicating or getting partners?
That's a good question. So yeah, I sold. We basically started buying. Well, let me back up. So 2019, I met maybe late 2018, 2019. My partner and I, the big buzzword was syndication. We were had never done a deal together, really anything bigger than a 4 unit, and we're like, we're gonna go syndicate. And so we got humbled pretty quickly in 2019. And couldn't find a deal, all that fun stuff. But we thought we had, access to capital. So we came into a deal as a capital raiser and got humbled again. Didn't hit where we were going to hit. So basically all the capital we raised was our money. So we basically were like, we quit our jobs, or I quit my job. This isn't working out so well. And then we kind of had this moment of like, if we spent this whole year just buying all these small deals rather than going for the home run, we would have had probably 100 units by now. And so we're like, let's do that. So the next week we looked at a 4 unit, we bought that. And then we're driving, from Home Depot to the 4 unit, and we passed an 8 unit, and we called that guy, and he's like, actually, I have 18 units. You should buy them all. And so we just started this little niche of like, small multifamily in Central Florida, basically an hour from Tampa. And we just started just scooping up little deals, and it grew. So
You were putting your own money in?
Yeah. So our most used way to acquire properties is hard money, which is kind of uncommon in the multifamily space. But we were looking at, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think we've consumed like $8 million of hard money in the last like 3 years.
That's so crazy, man. I always wanted to use hard money, and I've come close a few times, but I never pulled the trigger. I think it's a great strategy depending on the property, obviously.
Yeah, and you can be flexible. Like we've done, the first few deals was our capital and hard money, and then you run out of capital. And so there's definitely some strategic partnerships in there in the mix. And then sometimes we've typically like hard money, they're lending 65, 70%. But sometimes we've got that up because we have another property that has so much equity or it's free and clear that will cross collateralize, or we'll get the seller to hold a second. So there's a lot of more creative strategies with that. But yeah, we basically the first year or so, the acquisition, when we were buying a lot, we were doing big equity grabs, not bringing a lot of investor money into it. A lot of high balances on credit cards that first year, but then the refinances hit, and then it kind of goes in waves, right? You're flush with cash, you grab some more equity. You're light on cash, you bring some more investors in. So um, I think at this point we're trying to do. Um, I don't know. I think we're trying to avoid some of the peaks and valleys with the personal finances. So more bringing in more investors more frequently is more of a theme now. Um, but a really good deal that might persuade us to do a bigger equity grab as well. So it just depends.
Well, do you? Well, I guess I would love to hear your hard money contact, unless you have multiple or whatever. I don't, you don't have to share it here. We could always just connect offline or something if that's something you'd want to do. I would love to get that contact. And then just so throughout that period, I mean, it sounds like it. People listening, it's like, oh, they're a multifamily real estate investor. They have it made. It's so easy. It's not easy. I mean, listen, guys, he's putting money on credit cards and taking the risk with hard money and then refinancing out. What if that doesn't work? That's risky. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily for everybody.
Yeah, it's a stressful time, and I don't know if I necessarily recommend everything that I've done. Like that first year when we were, maxing out what we could purchase to grab all this equity. There was times where it was tight, and I remember one day, one day my wife came home and she's like, I couldn't get gas on this card. And she's like, this is not okay, Sean. So um, so yeah, so less of that nowadays, but yeah,
Well,
it's
so all right, but I'm sure you did pretty well if you're buying in 1920, right? I mean, if you sold, I don't know if your plan is to keep or hold, but if selling, right, that there was a peak in 2022-ish, and people paid premiums, and hopefully you made out on that. Maybe you could kind of talk a little bit about that and how the market maybe helped out.
yeah, there was the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. I think a lot of the deals we sold, it's hard. I guess most of the deals we sold, we had a lot of partners in, right? So the deals you bought, we had. It's kind of hard not. It's kind of hard to hold those deals when you can be like, hey, we can take a W for the team here, give all the investors a great return. So I feel like the ones that tend to go to market quicker are the ones that you have less equity in, and that
Mm.
was the case with the ones we sold. But it's hard to ignore, because like when you start thinking of your return of capital, and you've already had the value add play, it is a kind of an uphill battle to talk yourself into keeping things. So
Yeah,
that's
I agree, man. And I'm only getting to that stage now, a year or so into owning. It's like, okay, if we can sell, I would sell, but then there are properties that you probably want to keep for a long time. And it sounds like it's just you and your partner who are keeping those typically. Um, and that's Chris, right?
yeah.
Okay, so are those like cash flowing, and has the cash flow changed recently?
It's surprising. There should be a lot more cash flow, but I feel like we always have an ongoing project that eats up that, or there's always a level of stabilization that eats into that cash flow more than we want. So if we were to pump the brakes and realize that, and slow the growth a little bit, I'm not sure what the cash flow would be. It would be good. We don't really pay ourselves much from the business and from the cash flow. It's really just funneling it back in. We mostly live off of like our exits, right? We'll have a sale, we'll have a refinance, and that number carries us through the year, or a portion of that number, right? We'll have a big exit and we'll squirrel away some money and then we'll redeploy the rest of it. So, which is harder and harder to do when family grows, lifestyle expenses grow. But, switching to more of an active income is probably something in the future, realizing some of that cash flow. But, it's nice when it kind of feeds itself for growth.
Yeah.
So.
It also helps you, up with the upfront, right? So you don't need to bring that much and have like $100,000, $200,000 in capex just sitting in the bank, where you're just kind of reutilizing the cash flow from the property to feed itself. I like that.
Yeah, and also a thing recently, which has been unfortunate, is in Florida, just the insurance premiums. We have a premium that I think expires on the 1st, and we have to renew, and our quotes are double. It's already like a $28,000 policy, and the new quotes are like almost 50, and it's like, that's insane. So
well, that's what happened to us on the 44 unit. It essentially doubled, and now it dropped a little bit. Thank God it dropped. So we were at like, I think when you had it, it was like 780-ish a door, which is in other parts of the country, people are like, what? I would never pay that. Well, now it was like 1,500 a door, right? And now it just dropped to about $1,000 a door. We are just renewing. I actually just signed right now, so we're renewing also for February 1st.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I would take that all day.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's crazy. But then there are other things. So we're noticing, and I just got something hit my inbox before we hopped on this call too, about the delinquency trend increasing for 2024, and it's just something that is across the board. If people are struggling with jobs, they're going to be struggling with their rent. And maybe what we're seeing also is people like our 1-beds are harder to lease up than the 2-beds because people are roommating, right? They're buddying up. So a lot of these things are economically driven, and it all makes sense. And we're going to get through it. We have fixed rate debt. We're cash flowing, thank God. And it's just things that need to be, we need to keep our finger on the pulse with.
Yeah, we have noticed a little bit longer lease up periods, and granted, some of that stuff is seasonal right now with the holidays and just getting into the new year. But I think rent growth is definitely flattened a little bit, and lease up times are a little bit longer. I think we are seeing renewals like still being a little bump, but that initial rent placement might stay flat or go down a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, same. So like when we first took over, we were leasing up in a week or two, right? As soon as it was ready, that when the unit was ready, we'd lease up. Now it's taken 30 to 45 days. And we're reaching out to like housing authorities as well to kind of get that tenant base as well, just in case, just to have, because it's just taking longer. And we're having people break their leases just because they are moving back home, so that's the feedback we're getting. They're either moving back home or they want a different location or whatever it is, but typically they're just buddying up and moving back home, because the times are tough for a lot of people. But that being said, the population is still growing down in Tampa. People are moving down to Florida, and that's what's going to be the saving grace. So they say survive to 25, and we are going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt being on the fringe of Tampa. All our stuff's like 45 minutes from Tampa. Lakeland stuff's kind of between Tampa and Orlando, and then Lakeland's getting pretty cool itself. They have a lot of cool restaurants, awesome parks. Like, I have young kids in Tampa, and I drive 40 minutes to go to the parks in Lakeland because they're just that cool. So Lakeland is growing up quite a bit on its own merit. So I think there's a lot of strong things for rent and just overall outlook there. So
yeah. So, and if you look at the rents were behind Tampa, and Tampa was kind of outpriced a lot of people, and they had to move, right? So a lot of people moved into Lakeland. Lakeland is phenomenal, and I want to stay there. I really want to be a big player in that area if I can, because of all the economic drivers and things that are happening, including that what is it, the Sunrail or whatever it's called? They're potentially going to have a stop there between Orlando and Tampa. I mean, it's just going to open up so many opportunities.
I'm not super up to date with it, but if it goes from Tampa to Orlando, it's 100% going to stop. Probably Disney, Lakeland, like there'll be a few stops.
Yeah.
So.
Cool, man. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, Sean, 2024. What is your outlook? What do you think? Everybody thinks it's doomsday? What do you think?
So we've had a good start to 2024, or I guess our last deal was just at the end of 2023. But a lot of our recent deals have we've been able to do some level of seller financing on. So I think we'll see some more opportunities there. I don't think a lot of people's price expectations has been reset enough. So a lot of the conversations we've had, we've always offered seller financing, and no one's, it's never really been a strong offer till recently. Now we can say, hey, we can that price you want, we can hit it or get close to it if we do it this way, and we kind of name our terms. So we've bought some, I think we've bought 3 or 4 deals now, apartments with seller financing. So it's been really cool. Our latest deal was in a 12 unit in St. Pete, downtown St. Pete. It's actually we used a combination of seller financing, and we raised additional debt. So we actually got into that for $0 out of our own pocket. So kind of a really cool, like, creative deal. So
Oh, that's awesome, man. I love St. Pete.
yeah, so I think we'll see some more opportunities. Everybody talks about rates. I think I'm a little bit more pessimistic when it comes to rates than most. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they're going to go crazy election year. Hopefully they come down a little bit. We're entertaining, selling some stuff, so that would behoove us. But I don't how sustainable is that? Is that going to look like that in 2-3 years? Probably not. That's kind of my general thought. But whatever it does, we just hopefully find more seller finance deals and get 4% interest from our sellers, and life will be great. So there's
Yeah.
always a challenge. And what I was whatever cycle you're in the market, whatever's going on, there's always challenges. Like I was talking a little bit on my story. I bought my first house. I tried buying my house from 2012 to 2014. I was looking to buy a house, and at that time, you could throw a dart in any direction in Seminole Heights and hit like a $40,000 to $60,000 house. And those same houses they tear down for like $300,000 now. But you couldn't. By the time I could call an agent to be like, "Hey, let me see this house," it was some investor already picked it up. So I couldn't move fast enough to get a deal. So there's always a challenge. So
Yeah.
but you just have to figure out a way to overcome it.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, and I, people were talking about there was no capital. People didn't want to invest back then, but there were deals, and then there just, you had to make sure you could get the deal done. And then the interest rates dropped so much, and everybody's like, well, now the prices are too high. Okay, well, that's because the interest rates drop, and now we can't afford it, right? So there's always going to be challenges. And back to your point about the interest rates, right? This is historically normal, right? This is like the average 6, 7, 8-ish% from what I've been told. So we're not far off from the norm. And yeah, it might dip a little bit, and that could be a great opportunity to refinance or sell or get a deal. So you just always have to be in the game, always be in the know, and always be talking to people and trying to get things done.
Yeah. Yeah, and then as far as what's on the horizon for us, you were asking about who our contacts are for hard money, and we have some good ones. I'd be happy to share, but we're actually looking to dip into that space ourselves and start lending hard money. We realize we've consumed so much, and I think we need to be on the other side of this equation. So you'll probably see some stuff next quarter or so. Doing some loans in Tampa, and we would love to do some multifamily ones and some bigger loans. But yeah, so that's something that's a new arm of our business that we're going to be starting this year.
Cool, man. I know a few guys that are doing that. Definitely works out. Cool. Okay, how many kids do you have, Sean?
I have 2 kids. You can probably see some pictures of them back there.
Yeah.
I have a 4-year-old daughter, and my son is 10 months. So
Wow, they're so young. I didn't know they were so young.
oh yeah.
Cool, man. And your wife is still a nurse?
No, so she's actually a pediatrician. So
Pediatrician.
I was following her schooling was all medical school that I basically followed her around everywhere. But,
Gotcha. I got you now. And is she a pediatrician? Does she have her own practice, or does she work somewhere down in Tampa?
yeah, she's in a regional kind of group. I think her practice has like a dozen, 18 locations throughout like Tampa Bay area. So she works at outpatient clinic there. And she goes to one of our local hospitals, every month or so. She rotates through and does like a little bit of work there too.
Okay, so what is it like at home, like the schedule? Are you on daddy duty a lot?
So my wife actually works part time. So she works Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Tuesdays and Thursdays. So like Tuesdays and Thursdays are my days, typically, my full days. And then when Monday, Wednesday, Friday when she's working, I definitely am the point person. But we have daycare. So my son will go for like half a day, and then I'll pick him up, and then I'll pick my daughter up later in the day. So really, 3 days a week, I work from 9 to noon. So my days are a little short during part of the week, but we've got into a pretty good rhythm. It works for us. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's just I'm trying to shed some light on what it's like to be a multifamily investor, an entrepreneur, and have a family. It's all possible. It's just, sacrifices and changes you have to make in your life to make it work, right?
yeah, it's funny because a lot of our growth, I feel like the family dynamic was not as demanding earlier. A few years ago, I had my daughter, and when I started, I didn't. It was just my wife and I. But it's funny because you have periods where you grow, and then you see people that were kind of quote unquote behind you, and then they surpass you, and I see a lot of that now, and a lot of those people that are shooting up, it's like a lot of them are younger, aren't maybe not married, maybe probably don't have kids, and I'm like, that's just a superpower, all that time you can dedicate, but it is what it is. I wouldn't change it for the world. This one of the 2023, one of my big focuses was being more present. Switching off. There's always the to-do list is never ending. But switching off with the family, we took a month off, moved to Spain. I did probably like 2 hours of work the entire month.
What part of
Yeah,
Spain, man?
we were in Madrid. We had home base in Madrid. We did a few days in Barcelona, did some day trips, and then we did a few days in Sevilla. But Madrid was home for the month.
That's
So
Dude, I don't know. So I have Spanish citizenship. My family's from Spain, and I go there frequently. I was just there this summer with my daughter for the first time. We're gonna go this summer again. So that is my heritage.
yeah, it was a eye-opening trip. My wife by the end of it was like, like, can we stay? Like looking at jobs over there, and I'm like, we got to get back.
It's kind of honestly, it's too slow of a pace of life for me. I'm not a city guy. I'm not a New York, like I'm on Long Island. I live on a beach, but I am not a city guy at all. But it's like over there, it's like they take their siestas, they chill a lot, and I'm not like I love it there and I love it enjoying it, but I don't think I could live there. And even my father, when he retired, he's like, I'm going to spend 6 months in Spain, and after the first time he did it, he's like, I can't spend 6 months in Spain. It's too slow.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was a nice change with the kids and like being on vacation, but like if that was your work, like I don't know, I saw a meme the other day. It was like American citizen moves to Spain, and they're like shows up at 10 o'clock for a meeting. The person that set the meeting shows up at 10:30. I'm like, I thought we had a 10 o'clock meeting. Like, oh yeah, we do. Like it's Spain.
That's exactly right. Always late. It's funny.
But my wife thrived there. Like we like the evenings are late. Like it's very common. Like we were out at 10 o'clock at night at a restaurant with our kids. My son was 2 months old. We took my wife's maternity time and went to Spain, and so we were out in the middle of a plaza at like 10 o'clock at night, and the playgrounds there are just full. It was just a cool experience, and then all the blackout curtains and stuff. You sleep till like noon, and then you start your day. It was just like it was so different, but it just worked so well. It was awesome.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I'm glad we connected on that level. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Let me get the final question in. All right. So, Sean, let's imagine it was 100 years from now. You now have great grandchildren, and maybe they're hanging out in Madrid, maybe they're living the life, and they wanted to write a book about you. What would you want them to title this book, or what characteristical traits would you like them to highlight about you in this book?
I think probably going back to like my 2023 like kind of goal is to be present. I think the title of the book, like, always present or present in the present or something like that. Like, it'd be cool to, obviously, like, we have career goals, business goals, and definitely want massive success there. But to have that and to have grandkids that just have experiences and a relationship with you at a deeper level because of that being present would be, I think, a huge testament.
Oh man, Sean, I love that. I'm going through changes as well right now. Well, not as well, but I'm going through changes in life. And my daughter expressed to me just this past weekend, she's, because I have my girlfriend moving in with her kids, and that's a big change for us. It's been just me and my daughter for 4 years. So now there's somebody else coming in, more people coming in, and she's like, "Do you still love me?" Asking me all these questions, and I just have to be 100% present with her all the time so that she can feel that forever. And she does, and we're gonna get through it. But it is a reminder that I should always be present as well, because these times are precious with our family.
Yeah, and it's always like it's like a constant intention, right? Like your kids get older, their needs shift. What worked for you in the past, and how you spend your time changes. And I don't know, it's just being receptive to that is difficult sometimes, and it's a journey. So
yeah, awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. Well, Sean, it has been a pleasure. You and I are going to chat at some point, maybe even today, about that hard money stuff and about the new property that might be coming online. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. I learned a lot from you today, and I'm glad we connected on a deeper level.
Yeah, likewise, man. Thanks for having me.
Before we go, though, if people wanted to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
Probably the easiest way is Instagram. It's just my name, Sean Dries, on Instagram. My email, sean@silverkingcapital.com. They're probably the best two ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Sean, thank you so much. Have an awesome day, and let's keep chatting.
Awesome, man. Take care.
All right. Hey, Small Axe community. I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast, where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. Book a call with me. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.